No, I just wanted to tell you about a phone call that I got about 10 years after I left school from a guy that I'd been at school with. Wasn't very friendly with him, but he called me. The first time I'd seen him, it's the first time I'd spoken to him since leaving school, and he said, David, I've been thinking about you over these years. I've been meaning to get in touch with you so many times, but I just haven't done it. I just really enjoyed our connection at school. And I was going, really? This is interesting. And you know, something's come along. I've just been, in my lap has fallen this amazing business opportunity, and the first person that came into my head was you. And I'd love to get together with you, catch up on old times, and maybe look at this business opportunity together. And I felt fantastic. This guy who I hadn't been terribly friendly with was really building me up, and I felt great. I felt very flattered. I lapped it all up, and I went and met him for a drink, and we spent 5 or 10 minutes talking about old times and people, where were they now? And then he said, I'm really itching to get to this business proposition, and he started talking about cleaning products. And I realised very quickly that this was a pyramid selling scheme. And I felt so deflated. I really thought that everything he told me was true about me. And of course I was probably about the 100th person he'd told that line to. But his clincher was a pamphlet that he got out that had lots of pictures like this. Go back. Here we go. Lots of beautiful families standing in front of beautiful houses and beautiful swimming pools with beautiful smiles and teeth, and many beautiful fast cars in the driveway, beautiful second homes by the sea. And the clincher that was the clincher. He wanted me to share in this vision of what we could maybe achieve together. Actually, he wanted me to become one of his salespeople. I was so deflated that, you know, I kind of humoured him and said, well, it's not for me, thank you very much. And of course, we've not spoken since. It was about 20 years ago. And I've reflected on that over the years and thought, this, in particular, this idea of this mission and vision, I really detested it. Every time I heard a company talking about mission and vision, I thought, well, this is such a cynical thing. It's something that big American corporates do to get you to feel good about buying rubbish stuff or selling rubbish stuff. And then I started working in the third sector and with different organisations, and I realised that there was mission and vision was around organisations that weren't selling bad stuff, that were actually doing good stuff, had missions and visions in the world. And I slowly started to come around, and indeed I started working with men on an individual level, helping them discover missions in their own life, missions of service. So taking something out into the world and making the world a better place. So I kind of came full circle. But I wanted to bring that up because I believe that we're all sat here because we kind of share, maybe not totally, but there are some aspects of a vision that we are sharing around the National Parenting Strategy, and especially around this time of the referendum. So many debates are talking about, well, what could Scotland be like? What sort of country, what sort of society do we want to live in? That we could actually choose to be in a different type of country and society. And I think that's a really healthy debate that's going on, whether or not we get independence or not. Just for the record, this is our vision, which is about helping to create a safe and compassionate world. So it's not just about fathers, it's about doing something much more than just fathers. We're not a rights organisation for fathers. So it's a compassionate world where all children, their families and communities are enriched and strengthened through the full and welcome involvement of their fathers. So I'm going, doesn't want to stay. National Parenting Strategy, the vision. So helping make Scotland the best place in the world to grow up. I think our missions, our visions overlap. I'm going to talk about dads, because that's what I'm here for. I'm going to assume that everyone understands and knows the research that now shows that fathers are really important in the lives of their children. So when fathers are absent, the outcomes are worse. When fathers are present, outcomes are better. If you don't know about that, I've got some copies of this document, which is called Dad Matters, written by Gary Clapton. Is that to my right? And help yourself to one, because it pulls a lot of the research together that shows that stuff. I just want to get a quick show of hands in this room. Hands up if you are either a son or a daughter. Interesting, quite a few people with no hands up there. I'd like to come and speak to you later. So I believe that fathers, just as mothers, are absolutely fundamental to who we are. Fundamental to our identity, whether they were there or not. Whether your father was a great dad, or an absent dad, or a lukewarm dad, or however you want to describe him, I believe both your mother and father are fundamental to your identity and who you are, and how you go out into the world. So, one of the things that I want to talk about is my own dad, because he grew up in an age when he was raised by his mother, essentially. His father was around, but children were women's work. Men went out and they worked. And this is what my dad didn't do this. You can probably tell by my accent, he wasn't a miner. But yeah, he did something more akin to this. Men went out and worked and did really important stuff, while the women stayed at home and minded the children, minded the house, cooked the dinner. Depends which socio-economic background you come from, of course. So, what I'd like to say is my dad recently told me that he really regretted not spending more time with his 4 sons. I'm one of, did I say 4? 3. I'm one of 3 sons. And because he didn't know how to. He put everything into his work, he did really well. He did very well as a dad. But what support was there out for him as a father to connect with his children, to support him, to maybe give him guidance on how to connect? And there wasn't anything. So he just ploughed everything into there, and he has big regrets because he spent 20, 30 years just doing work and not actually being very present in our family. And he still did a great job. I'm not bitter about that. But he grew up in the 40s and the 50s. He's about to turn 75. So we're a million miles from that. Our society and culture has changed. So I just invite you to put both hands in the air and scream. Very good. Because, in fact, there's some aspects of our society and culture that haven't changed, because I believe that we still are peddling this message that children are women's work. And there's another paper that Gary wrote. It's almost a year old now, so some of it is, thankfully, going a little out of date. If you don't know it, it's called Where's Dad? And it just shows an example of how a lot of children and family services routinely ignore fathers. They ignore dads, and they're written out. And this is a real problem, because we're talking about parents. But if parents means mothers, which it does, the default is that children are women's work. If you go to a parent and toddler group or a parent and child group, for a lot of men, they don't feel included, because the word parent, well, that's women's work. So men feel excluded, and organisations are still, I believe it's unconscious. This isn't part of some grand scheme to exclude men from childcare or raising children, but it's an unconscious belief that we hold. So, where's Dad? I'm just going to show you a few images from Gary's thing. This is one from a national health document on play, and talks about fun for the whole family. Active play can be fun for the whole family. Where's Dad? Here's the Quarriers. They've changed their front page now, but this was up for a long time. Someone who recognises you're at breaking point. It's a family thing. There's a mother and a child. Where's Dad? Ready, Steady, Baby. I love this one. I mean, I'm a dad myself, and I was very involved in the pre and the birth and everything. I was ready, steady, and baby came, and it was a challenge. But I'm just not in there. I'm not in that picture. This is not welcoming for me. When there are mentions of fathers, it's very often negative. Again, this is all covered in Gary's paper. Here's one from the children's panel. Apparently it's been very effective at bringing men into the children's panel, but here is an image of a rather reprobate father. The National Guidance for Child Protection in Scotland 2010. So here's an image, I don't know if you can make out there, but there's an adult and 2 children, and the adult is a woman. Again, where's Dad? And in fact, what's it saying about men? What are we saying about fathers when we routinely miss fathers in this stuff? And going back to this idea of vision, I believe that these documents that we have for our organisations are a vision of the future, of what we want our future to be. And so I believe this is a terrible image, and thankfully, I think, so did the Scottish Government, because they have updated it. And now there is a beautiful family of, there's a mother and father, and I'm not trying to peddle here some ancient stereotype of you must have a mother and father together at all costs, at all times. But whatever the circumstances, involve the fathers. I want to widen the vision as well to gender inequality, because we still have a large pay gap between men and women. And I believe that we're in a cycle, because until we unlock this side and allow men to take an active part, welcome them in an active part with children and families, we are going to confine them to work. And so there's a very smug and happy-looking father. I think there's some studies coming out now that's showing that actually the most dissatisfied people at work are young fathers between the ages of 20 and 35 who are not recognised as fathers, who are asked to work more and more time. They cannot get to their family to support their partners and be with their children. So until this is something that Fathers Network Scotland are looking at, and you'll be hearing a bit from Elaine Dunphy later on about flexible working and family-friendly Scotland, because this is part of the problem, I believe. We need to start recognising men in their roles as fathers. So I'm going to leave you with 3 vital steps that I believe that we can all be doing. This isn't just the work of specialist fathers' organisations. This is for all child and family services, for education, health, wherever children and families are involved. Keep asking, where's Dad? Where's Dad in my organisation? Where is he in my life? Where is he in with partner organisations? Keep asking that question. Is he part of the vision in my organisation? Or am I just talking about women and children? Welcome fathers. Welcome them in pictures, because a brochure, and I've got some fantastic examples here, Parenting Across Scotland, father and son on the front page. This will make, a man will pick this up. If this was a woman and a child, that would put a lot of men off. In language, the gender-neutral parents doesn't work. As I mentioned, we have a lot of the cultural baggage that still sees children as women's work. So mention up front that this is something for mothers and fathers. Include men, include fathers. And assume that all fathers are an asset. All too often we assume that men and fathers are either kind of useless or a risk. If we start expecting more of our men and our fathers, we will get more. I'm not going to take any questions just now. I'm going to say thank you very much.